Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today, we're looking at the Akira class heavy cruiser. The mission profile that is being listed here out of our Decipher book, which is what I'm reading out of, and for the most part, I have been. The Akira class is a fast attack heavy cruiser designed for superior speed, durability, and firepower. It is capable of a number of different tactical profiles, such as first strike, deep reconnaissance, incursion, and perimeter defense. If I can only read this one in, that would be wonderful. The Akira class's multiple torpedo launchers gives it the ability to engage a number of enemy targets at long range, while maneuvering to a more tactical advantageous position thanks to its speed and handling characteristics. In a support role, the class's ability to deploy and recover a number of support craft uh, make it useful for ground, planetary, and station support, as well as long range patrol. Outside of conflict, the Akira class is an excellent sensor and staging platform, as its shuttle bays allow it to transport a large number of vehicles, supplies, and or personnel for missions ranging from colonization to planetary evacuation. Let's see. Let's go into, well, we'll read the whole thing. Why not? The Akira class is one of the first Starfleet designs focusing primarily on superior firepower and projection of force in a quick and decisive manner. To that end, the class's primary armament are its multiple torpedo launchers, allowing it to lay down an uh, oh my goodness, I'm sorry, lay down an impressive amount of firepower over vast distances. You know, you can't say a word that's just not printed, I tell you. Okay, the Mark 80 missile launchers were capable of utilizing both photon and quantum torpedo ordinances, although most Akira class ships are nearly exclusively armed with quantum torpedoes. Due to their frontline and quick strike capabilities for short range tactical response, this class mounts several phaser arrays, supplementing their existing torpedo payload. These two combinations provide the Akira class with a devastating first strike capability. While the Akira already represents new thinking in Starfleet starship design, with the inclusion of her torpedo launchers, the Akira also incorporates three quick pressure shuttle bays. Um, the single forward bay, located on the primary hull, serves as the primary launching facility, while two bays located aft of the primary hull are used for shuttle recovery. Shuttlecraft ranging from the standard Starfleet multi role craft to specialized fighters used for picket defense or patrol duty. Squadrons of such craft allow the class to fulfill a unique support role and project a Starfleet presence further than most other starships. The LF 35 liner warp drive provides a maximum speed of warp 9.8, allowing the Akira class to deploy in relatively short amount of time. Enhanced sensors and reinforced operation systems ensure that the class is capable of remaining combat worthy and effective even under less than ideal circumstances. Defensively, as with most PDD designs, the Akira class has an ablative armor, reinforced hull, and one of Starfleet's most proven shield generator designs, the FSQ, with a standard mission profile rated at 3 years. The Akira class is designed to operate for up to 18 years until the fleet's scheduled refit and overhaul. So, for background here, originally Envisioned as merely a testbed for new phaser and torpedo technology, the Akira class was never initially designed for mass production or as a frontline combat vessel. Akiras were pressed into development after the destruction of a sizable portion of the Starfleet at the Battle of Wolf 359, bringing its experimental design to the spotlight under the auspices of the Perimeter Defense Directive (PDD). The PDD sought to um, rectify what was viewed as glaring weaknesses in the defense of the Federation with older, less combat effective starships bearing the bulk of the weight. The Akira's first and perhaps most noteworthy deployment occurred in 2373 at the defense of Sector 001 from Borg incursion. While a number of Starfleet vessels took part in that action, the Akira class performed with distinction, among them the USS Thunderchild. Limited engagements against Cardassian and Tholian forces also helped bolster confidence in the Admiralty that the Akira class was indeed a viable starship design. With formal approval given, the Akira class reached wide scale production, and their metal would be tested in the coming years. The outbreak of war with the Dominion um, extra, extradite. Jesus, I'm looking at the word. I'm just having a hard time. Extracted a terrible toll on all sides during the conflict, while time and time again the Akira class distinguished itself as a notable uh, effective design. Conflicts with the Chintoka system and Deep Space Nine during Operation Return have ensured that the Akira class's place in history for neither offensive uh, can be spoken without acknowledging the Akira's significant contributions. I think it's just early in the morning. My mind is just having hard times with things. So really, this was a new design that was really done for what was it, First Contact, um, and it was one of the first ships that was actually done fully CGI. We had the Akira. Um, shoot, what were the other two on that one? I could actually I got the book right behind me, so I could kind of quickly look through all the different ships because we had three ships that were done in that movie and they were completely CGI. That was the first breakaway from all other designs. Otherwise, we always had in the past. Uh, ILM would come up with a model for this, and then they would actively um, use that model and digitally recreate it. So let's see, the Cure class. Trying to see what other ships here. I'm probably looking at it, but I'm just going right by it, and I'm just not thinking of what they all were. Um, the Saber class was another one, and I can't think of the third one offhand. But anyways, you get the idea. It's you know times are changing, things were changing, so we had a complete change in designs, and the big reasoning that they had used was with the attack on the starships from the Borg, and we wanted a breakaway from the big departure of the secondary hull, primary hull, sleek down the ships, and after that point, we saw ships become more in line. Even the secondary hull came up a little bit more. We dropped the huge neck there. Uh, Big shift in design characteristics here. So Um, and it is a fun time with all this to really get into Star Trek and see how the designs have changed. So, looking at this, this is a heavy cruiser. Of course, it's at capital scale. Length is about 464 meters long. It is 316 meters wide and 87 meters tall. It is ship's mass is rated at 3,055,000 metric tons. It is a size 7 starship. Has an autopilot of 4D, so it can self drive at a 4D skill set. Crew 500. It requires a minimum skeleton crew of 50, operating at a plus 10 to all their difficulties. Passengers are 55. Cargo capacity is 300,000 metric tons. Has consumables for 3 years. Now, has a warp drive of 6, standard warp being about a 9.4, and it can reach 9.8 for 12 hours. And of course, keeping in line with all the other stuff that I've been doing here, I've got a 8X for backup for like a hyperdrive. If you wanted to bring this into doing Star Wars and Star Trek all together, to make them all mash in together, I would say an 8X for backup and a 1X for primary. Okay? But it's up to you. I mean, that's what all this stuff is for. Everyone games their own way. I am huge on wanting to game, get the guys together, get around a table, whatever. And that's where my heart really comes down to, being able to just get everyone around a table and just have fun. All right. So, and I know I've said it before, I'd love to mash everything together and just have one fun galaxy with everything kind of mashed together. Okay, of course, we're going to have a navigation computer. We do have a maneuverability of 2D, so that's pretty respectable for a lot of the ships that we're seeing out of Star Trek. We have a space of 9.5. Our hull is 5D, so that's pretty respectable. Our shields is 3D. So again, for what we have seen from the D6 Holocron and how they've been making their ships, these are very respectable numbers. Sensor packet wise, we have a passive scan going out to 5 kilometers with a plus 2D. Our active scan is out to 12 kilometers at a 2D plus 2. Our search goes out to 16 kilometers with a plus 3D plus 2. And our focus is 500 meters at a plus 4D plus 1. So sensor-wise, this is a very robust system to be able to scan things and so on and so forth. Really adding to the whole idea that, yes, Starfleet has always been really at the heart more of a science-based. Star Trek has always been a little bit more of a science-based, or greatly more of a science-based uh, kind of adventure show. Yes, we have the action and everything else there, but at the heart and core of it, it always tries to do a sciency, you know, positive outlook of the universe. Really, when we start getting into the modern, Deep Space Nine was a big change on that, where it starts getting a little darker and grittier. We get the Dominion War and all that, and it really does kind of get it a grittier. In my own personal view, I don't think we should have gotten any grittier than what they did in Deep Space Nine. Um, at the heart of everything, it's supposed to be a very optimistic and positive outlook at the future. I think a lot of people need that escapism to say, even in its darkest time in humanity's future, it is still a positive outlook at what it could be. I think we really need that in society today. So that's just my take on it. Now, looking at the weapons systems, we do have Type 10 phaser array. So it is a 405-degree dorsal attack. We do have fire control of 2D plus 1. and it does 4D damage, which doesn't sound overly bad in the Star Wars context. But seeing that this has a hull of 5D, that is pretty significant. Plus the fact that you're seeing this can shoot 5 times in a round. And that's one of the things I've been really driving at this, because when you look at this in comparison to Star Wars stuff, I know that that's a different genre, but if for me, I would love to port this over, and I very likely will at some point just funnel this in. And you could always say it's somebody else's radical design on things or whatever else. Um, and I would probably put it, uh, what would it be, like 45 ABY. We now have in the legacy or legends, however they want to call it, timeline. So, here we have a Starfleet going out there for the New Republic, trying to take a big break away from the uh, Empire's view on how ships should look. Um, Maybe Mon Calamari are helping to, build the ships or whatever, but somebody else has come up with a radical design change or something like that to do whatever. Or maybe this is just their exploratory arms vision of how ships should be. However you want to do it, but it would be wonderful. Um, but when you look at the fact that it can shoot 5 times in one round compared to they're shooting only one time in a round, unless you're taking a negative to try and shoot because now it's a quick adjusted shot. Okay, that's my takeaway on that. Now we also have two extra Type 10 phaser arrays. They are 360-degree ventral and port and starboard um, side arrays. Again, they have a fire control of 2D plus 1. They have a fire rate of 2, so they can shoot twice in a round. They do 4D in damage. And then we have three Type 10 phaser arrays. These are aft and dorsal. And again, 2D plus 1 for fire control and a 4D for damage, but they can only fire once in a round. Now, as stated in our write up and everything else that we were reading from the Decipher book, these are actually considered more backup weapons. These are there to help augment what their torpedo launchers are doing. So we have 15 photon torpedo launchers. We have 8 forward, 3 aft, 2 port, 2 starboard. And of course, they're all self guided torpedoes. So we have a fire control of 2D plus 2. We can do a spread of 6 out of any of these. So we can shoot 6 rounds out of any one of these torpedo launchers. And these are using the Type 2 photon torpedoes. There are 900 of these on board, and they're doing 4D damage. I think that damage should actually be raised up because I think we've seen them at a higher scale on some of the other ships. Because this would be regular torpedoes, but if they're the quantum torpedoes, that's where it should really be higher. Um, let's see, I've got a little window here. Let me, because we looked at the Defiant class, let me switch over to our Defiant class. So our Defiant, let's see, has the quantum torpedo launchers, and those are doing 8D damage. So why don't we add that into our Akira? Because I think that's going to be uh, a game changer here. Um, 8D quantum. Let's see. I think I've misspelt it, but you get the point. Um, it's if we were to swap out all these regular photon torpedoes and we made them quantum torpedoes, now you're doing 8D damage, which is probably what it's really going to be. Um, So let's just kind of keep things fair. Um, and there again, for the people that had done all this on the D6 Holocron, which is where I've gotten all this stuff. So, um, really the credit goes to them. They have a beautiful layout, and I've always said this about how they've done it because you know I should show you the little scribblings that I have, and I even came up with a little worksheet, but it's still scribblings in comparison to this. Um, you know, like anyone making stats like this, you're thinking in one line, but then we kind of forget. Oh yeah, well it also has this or that or something. So sometimes we just make little mistakes or whatever. And I think that the overlook for the quantum torpedoes was that very same thing. But even if it wasn't quantum torpedoes, the fact that you can shoot, what do we have? 6 times 15, so 30. Um, some 90 torpedoes in one round. That's pretty devastating, even if you only have a fraction of that damage actually getting through their shields and everything. That's just huge. All right, so we do have Class Delta tractor beams. Uh, this one's going to be aft. Fire control is 2D. It has a strength of 4D plus 2. It has a Gamma class tractor beam in forward. Fire control is 2D. Strength is 3D plus 2. We also have Class Alpha tractor beams, one in each shuttle base, so there's 3 of them total. Fire control is 1D plus 1. Strength is 3D. Now, wrapping this up here, we do have crew quarters, 400 basic, 75 extended, 35 luxury, 20 unusual, 19 decks, 18 or 180 seat pods for 4 personnel each. We have 4 transporters for 4 people, 4 emergency transporters for 20-person capacity, 4 cargo transporters at 400 kilograms each. And it can have 30 to 50 attack fighters and 40 probes. So that is very significant and a big change from what Starfleet usually has. So I've got to kind of run. I'm sorry, I'm running out of time. I'm kind of rushing the end of this, so I do apologize. Um, Thanks for visiting. It's always wonderful having you here. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you in the next video.